I developed the technique of painting fairly traditional imagery, but using this sort of pixelated technique. So it's sort of interacting with digital media, which is obviously made of little pixels, and if you zoom in far enough you get big pixels. So I call it quadratic pointillism. You can see the way it's constructed from squares. As you get more and more into the image, they get smaller, and then the image kind of takes over. I did quite a lot of portraits that way. There's a certain effect to painting an image out of squares, and it's a kind of distancing effect, and I think that gives them a certain kind of melancholy feel. I do think of it as a little bit like projecting a movie. So the canvas is the screen and the ideas are kind of in your head. You just start working on it, you know, just do something, make a mark on it and just follow that process. And each time you make a mark, you've then got something different in front of you. It's changed the screen, the canvas, and you respond to that with your next move, as it were. It seems kind of random, but actually it's not at all random, because you're, you know, somewhere there's somebody inside you selecting and choosing exactly what to do. So I paint with egg tempera, which is a very ancient medium. So it's simple egg yolk mixed with water and powdered pigment. And this has been around for thousands of years. And then in sort of the more modern times, there was a little bit of a revival. So a few 20th century artists used it. There it is. I love the fact that it's so simple and yet has this literally infinite range of possibilities. But also it means I get to work with powdered pigment. They are so beautiful. And depending on how much pigment you mix into it, it's very translucent. So that you can paint over it again and again. And so this layering gives the paintings a certain depth, and you get this kind of quite kaleidoscopic colour effect. So I've kind of moved from the relatively simple pixelation of images to a deeper, more complex engagement with technological devices and the kind of architecture of them. Just looking into the devices and thinking about the way that people interact with them and feel about them. All this technology is everywhere in our lives now, and I think it's only fair for artists to kind of engage with that. I'm fascinated by the way that you can represent, say, a mood or a feeling or an emotion with a purely abstract means. There needs to be a structure to it, for me, to kind of hold meaning. One way is through digital architecture, and another way is through musical structures. So looking at the way a piece of music is put together and then borrowing that structure in a visual way. The black is silence, that's the beginning and the end. I'm kind of interested in the representation of space and depth, and I think that probably comes from my sort of background as a product designer. It's a constant evolution. So every time you do a new painting, you learn something. You know, I want my work to be, I want it to be surprising. I want people to look at it and think, I've never seen anything like that before. You know, that's a kind of a marvellous, astonishing thing that is in the world, which wasn't there before, and can only have got there because of the way that I've created it.